Good morning. Hope you're all doing well. Thank you for joining us this morning. And thank you for your support of this wild and crazy Sangha and this wild and crazy teaching. No comment about the teacher. Nice to see all of you out there in Zoom land. Thank you for coming. And also thank you for showing up so I can see your face for 30 seconds or maybe more, up to you. Maybe if you're in bed or taking a bath, you don't want to do that. So this morning's Dharma talk is titled Solidifying Stories. Solidifying. We already have a story. Anytime anything happens, you, me, all of us will have a story about it, a description, an interpretation. Something will happen and we'll translate it into our reference point, our position, our judgments, our ethics, our standards, our right and wrong, should be, shouldn't be. We're constantly doing this with everybody. And people are doing it to us. You know isn't that painful to have to know that you're doing how is it often said, the best you can with your life, you're having your ups and downs, and someone comes along from their perch on high, looks down at you and said, you need to do this or do that. You shouldn't be doing that. You should stop don't wear red hats anymore. It's like none of their business what color hat you're wearing, nor is it any business of anybody. But they will create stories around that to make it look like they're right and you're wrong. And the reason people do that, the reason I do it, the reason all of us do that is to protect ourselves from the fundamental truth, ultimate truth, that there is nothing there. There are no separate beings anywhere. This is an illusion, my friends, my enemies. This is an illusion. What you're looking at is there, it's vivid, it's moving, it might be talking or waving a stick, but it's not real. This doesn't mean that you smear it so it's all cloudy because it's not real. No, it's vivid and it's in your face and it might have a sharp knife. As I said many years ago, and I'll say again, one of my students, it meant so much to that person, he even had it embroidered on a pillow. You may have to kill someone. If you don't understand what I'm saying, I'm here for a few more days. Come and ask me about that. If you ask me, your way of asking it will get a different kind of response than someone else that asks that question. I always speak to the person that's talking to me. I don't speak to some kind of a general situation, although I'm doing that now, and this is called talking to myself. I talk to the craziness that's here. You know what your craziness is. I don't. Be responsible for your thought forms, which does not mean believe them. If you have a thought about anything and you believe it, you've just covered it up. If you have a positive, negative, neutral idea, thought, or story, and you've done anything with it at all other than just listen, just receive, just smell that, just taste that, just reflect on that, you're solidifying it to give your ego a reference point. This is not a mundane path, though it has mundane aspects to it. Got to get in the building. You have to have a cushion. You have to have a body. You have to brush your teeth, or at least you should. You have to do relative things which constantly reinforce the illusion. Sorry that I'm raising my voice. It gets quite disturbing and irritating after a while to work on this to work on this person for decades and decades and decades and get to a point where I actually would have something to say to any of you who will listen to me for 10 minutes or half an hour. Consider it, please. Don't believe your thoughts. Don't disbelieve your thoughts. Don't ignore them. Solidifying stories. The first story is fine. Do nothing with it. It just passes right on through. We hear it, just passes right on through. If you're around people who have no mind training at all, their stories are going to seem solid. They're going to feel like when they talk to you, it won't feel like it's you're listening to the birds in the trees. It's going to like listening to hammer blows. Bang, bang, bang. I like this. I don't like that. You should, you shouldn't. Constant chirping at things like that. Find out who you are. Don't get your identity from me. Don't get it from any of your stories. This doesn't mean stop your stories. I'm not saying that. I don't teach be different. Don't have stories. No, I'm saying listen to the story that you're saying about anything. Something occurs and you add to it. Just watch the addition. If you just observe it, awareness, 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 it won't last. It'll just come apart because the very nature of relative truth is impermanence. It comes apart. This is June the 1st, 48 years ago. I had you help me with the math on that. Can you agree to 48 years? 48 years? You're not going to help me here? What happened 48 years ago?
You were in the middle of a 10-day solitary and you awoke.
Month-long
solitary. Maybe you should tell us.
Oh, no, I'd rather correct you. After a couple of weeks, which is about 2 weeks into it, the weather was much better than it is now, much warmer. I sat up in my sleeping bag and looked out across the field, which I was on the edge of a woods, and I wasn't hearing voices, but it came up into my mind that nothing sleeps. I've spent the rest of my life, that whole 48 years, contemplating what that means. I don't know if someone said that. I don't know if I said that or what it was, but nothing has ever slept. So you can't really fall asleep, but you can cover up that you're awake. You need to see the cover up, and that is solidifying stories. When you solidify a story, you take something that is invented, made up. Read a little bit of Shakespeare, or for that matter, read Grace Metalius, Peyton Place, which was written in the 1950s, I think. I think I read it when I was 16 or something like that. Pretty amazing story. It was quite famous then because it talked about sex a little bit, not much. Don't believe the stories. Don't disbelieve the stories. Don't ignore the stories. Passion, aggression, and ignorance, again and again and again and again. Very simple teaching that's been around forever that is very difficult. I know people, I have students that want to just lock down on any aspect of their mind and say, this is what it is. I'm not saying you can't do that, but if you do that, then you will start to go in circles with the rest of samsara, which means circle around life and death, life and death. This is not just this week, next week. It's not just you go to sleep and then the next day you wake up. It's lifetime after lifetime. Don't believe any of this. Don't believe what I'm saying, but consider it. When you last time you listened to me, which may be today, consider what I'm saying. You don't have to join anything. You don't need to send me any money. You don't need to have an interview with me. You don't have to do anything. What do you have to do? Well, probably nothing, but you're alive. You're eating every day, I assume, or you wouldn't be here. One of the things you could add into that is hold still and observe how your mind works. Get to know yourself. Be responsible for what arises in your mind. That doesn't mean shove it away. I don't believe it. Or pull it into you. I believe it. This is great. I wish I could feel this way more. And it also doesn't mean turn away, distract yourself, go get high, or go have a Budweiser, or for that matter, go play checkers. Don't distract yourself. But if you do any of those distractions, they're all fine, we're all doing those, be aware that you're doing that. Just be aware that you are moving away from this and moving into that. Awareness, awareness, awareness is what this is about, not about what arises in the awareness. Everyone here, whatever arises, that is untrue. It's relatively true, and it will get its substantiation for being valid or being the truth or being evidence from what? From solidifying them. That something comes up and it's just a description and interpretation about something else that's happening, and then we see it start to come apart. And so it's not substantiating, reifying, validating, or reinforcing the original idea or perception that shouldn't be happening, or he's wrong, or for that matter, I'm wrong. So what do? We look for evidence. We solidify the story by, well, also what he said here, or what he did there, or what she said. We look for other things that really weren't showing up when the original story was created or showed up, but we need something else because we begin to realize that what we were believing in is not true. It's just not true. And that's to ego, that is scary and frightening and destabilizing to that part of the consciousness that is a construct. Five skandhas: form, feeling, perception, concept, consciousness. Form, feeling, perception, concept, of thinking process, and the sixth sense feels in their objects: sight, smell, taste, touch, thinking, hearing, all of those coming together to reinforce over and over and over. I'm here, I'm doing something, I'm crossing my arms, I'm uncrossing my arms, I'm leaning this way, I'm leaning that way, I'm giving a Dharma talk. There's no one here. There's no one here. Sure looks like it, doesn't it? Well, I'm deliberately being just as disconcerting as I can. So you have something to project on. So I can actually say to you, as you're doing this to me, as you're judging me, as you're saying I'm abusive or I'm yelling, I am. I don't teach like my teachers taught. I'm right in front of you. They were not. They were somewhere else. You had to go and find them. I'm right here. And I'm telling you, I'm saying to you, find out who you are. Find out who you are. What you're looking at right now is not real. And the consciousness that is showing up in these vocal cords and through these hands, all I have to do to show you the truth is do this. Do this. That's enough. If you see what this is, you don't need to listen to me anymore, because everything you look at will be the face of the Buddha. Not because this old man is a Buddha. It's because what is showing up here as an old person who is talking, has been studying what the Buddha said and what the teachers down through the centuries, the lineage holders have been saying. If you solidify your stories, it's not that you won't have some relative truth that you can hang on to, you can hang your hat on, and you can share with your friends. What do you think about what this? And the person will say, if they're caught in the same trap you are, you'll have a conversation with them about that, a discussion. What was that called by someone just recently? We have to have an intellectual discussion about it. Yeah, we should have that. This is not a philosophy. It is a philosophical set of ideas or psychology that points towards the truth, but it's not the truth itself. If you're interested, maybe I can help you with that. If you're not interested, there's plenty of other things to do with your life than sit and listen to me or even meditate. But this only lasts so long. This illusion only lasts so long because it's impermanent. I have more to say, but I'll respond to questions. Go ahead.
Jaylen Bowing, how do we use like Buddhist teachings as stories that we solidify? Bowing,
How do you use them?
how does that happen?
What is the story? Give me a story.
Jaylen Bowing, like you just said, I'm riffing off the fact you said you don't teach like your teachers.
I don't.
I can make a story like you're teaching different because you don't understand that, and I can start projecting that.
That's true. I would say I would agree with you. Yeah, I don't. I don't need to understand. You do. This is why I say when you come to a book study and you sit down and study the Dharma with Dogen or Vasubandhu or Nagarjuna or Chogyam Trungpa or Kobunchuna Roshi or this old man, you don't need to understand this. Ego doesn't like to hear that because ego wants to get it, wants to understand, wants to take it to court, wants to take it home, wants to write it in notebooks. I'm not against writing in notebooks, by the way. Everybody should be writing in a notebook. I don't understand. I mean, this is what one of our friends, you all know who I'm talking about, is saying. I don't think he's here now. No, he wouldn't. I'm teaching, so he doesn't want to really be here when I'm teaching. But is saying that what I'm saying is somehow incorrect because I'm pointing at something and I'm not working with the concepts there. I'm not scholarly about it. Am I misunderstanding what is being pointed at there? No, I'm not. I'm not a scholar. I've studied all the material, probably anybody here has studied for many, many years and endeavored to understand it. And I have been through lots of phases of understanding. But what I'm looking at now is not understanding. It's just, I'm seeing it. And the reason I can speak in maybe it sounds to you like I'm just full of myself and I'm And I don't know how it looks. That's up to you. You do whatever you want with it. But what I'm saying to you is not do what I say or follow me, or I'm not going anywhere anyway, but look within. Turn away from this teacher and look within. Find out who you are. If you need to come to me for reassurance, I'll continue to say the same thing in different words. Look within. And if you come to me with your suffering, I'll say, you can do it. Just keep looking. And if you say, this isn't working for me, I can't meditate, I can't even meditate, I will say, well, just do a little bit then. Well, I can't sit there for an hour. Well, can you meditate for 5 minutes? You've heard this all before. All of you have. Well, then meditate for 5 minutes. Time is meaningless. It's the intention, not the result. I'll say it again. It is the intention to see this. Please transcend this world right now, this moment, which is not even, which is a concept that has nothing to do with the illusion of time. Go ahead.
Jaylen Bowing. What does it mean? Like when you say don't get your identity from the teacher, what is it to get your identity from the teacher? Bowing.
What is it to get your identity from the teacher? Well, you might need to do some of that for a while. You came to me and asked for Jukai. I gave it to you. You gave you an identity. I changed your name. Then you come and ask to be fully ordained as a monk. We did that many, many years ago. Now you're a monk and you study the Buddha's Dharma. You study what I say, and you study what countless other teachings by other Dharma teachers down through the centuries, including the Buddha. We've studied the Majjhima Nikaya, the Digha Nikaya, the Samyutta Nikaya, and what are the other 2 or 3 Nikayas? I can't remember the names of all of them. We've studied all of that together as a community. And so it's the whole idea of identity itself is what is being pointed at, to eventually see there is no identity. That's your identity. But you have to see that. I'm encouraging you to see that. You might have to get some identity, change of name, change of attitude. That's the refuge vow, change of name. You go from this name to that name, instead of the name you were given when you were born. And the attitude is stop fighting with everything. Receive, receive, receive. That's the attitude as I understand it. More?
Thank you.
More questions, or should I keep going? Robert?
Is there anything to witness in the unstory?
Space.
What is that?
A space is consciousness. Most people who are stuck on a relationship, on reference point, and on ideas, and on values, and on ethics, and on anything, including the reference to the body, the first skandha form. Anyone who is fixated on any of that will not see the space in which those forms occur, because they're trapped by the conclusion part of it. More if you have it. Let's keep going there.
What is the presence that we can allow in that space?
It's not up to you to allow. If you think that you're allowing something, this is more ego. It's very subtle, it's very refined, and it's hard to, it won't show up in the mirror of pride, but it is very refined. So you won't, when you say what, I can't go to the objective response there. I have to say it's just consciousness, and encourage you to just go back into this in your sitting practice of meditation, which I assume you do some. Go back and just be aware of the space. The feeling of not knowing is the beginning of wisdom. Go ahead.
Robert Bowing. What is the easement at which we can observe in that space?
Just receive. And that receiving, what comes forward when you actually just receive whatever shows up, starts to get very, very uncomfortable, because you, not just you, not accusing anybody of anything, have been covering up your karma for countless, centuries, lifetimes. You are not a singular person. It just looks like we are. You're not separate from all of the things that have ever happened anywhere. You're not separate from what is happening in Greenland or in Southern California or in the Gaza Strip. You're not separate from any of that. You're separated, but you're fundamentally not separate. More, please.
Oh my God.
That's quite a bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate those questions, Robert. Yes, sir.
Dr. Bowing, is belief in the body, like, is there a body response when we're believing something?
Yes. Yes, this is an incredible anchor. This is why we take it to the cushion, sit down, hold still, and observe. And why some teachers actually emphasize body awareness and try to get you to be aware of the body situation and keep returning to it. Some will have you close your eyes so there's more body awareness. I'm not against that. I just don't teach it. Go ahead. In other words, I don't promote that. What do I promote? Sit down. Everything is open. Sit as still as you can. Sit symmetrical, and whatever the asymmetry that arises in the mind or in your environment, just observe that, come and go until you see the truth yourself. And this can take a long time.
Wendell Bowing, how do we solidify the stories that Sangha members bring to us?
How do we solidify them? Well, several ways. It depends on the style that you have or I have. I solidify them. That's all I know about this. I solidify all kinds of things. It's even worse now than it was, say, 20 years ago. Because now I don't care what I do. I'm not concerned with it because the karma that needs to show up, that's like I said, you may have to kill somebody. I just about that. I'm not saying that it's so choiceless that I get to do whatever I want, abuse whatever I want. I need to get to rob banks or because karma's empty and everybody gets to do. No, it's better than that and it's worse than that. It's better than that because you are liberated. And what's liberated? There was never anything in prison. That's an illusion. You have to realize that. I'm inviting you to do that. I'm inviting you to look at your consciousness, look at your mind. You're very lucky to have this precious human birth. How you got here, I don't know. How I got here, I don't know. I came right out of hell to show up here, and I may have to go back up to hell, and I don't care. I'm not concerned about what happens next because there is no next. That's an illusion. It's an illusion that there's something else happening. There's just this. How do we solidify it? By repeating it, by checking in with apparent other people who have their ideas. What do you think? Well, I think that what you're saying there is totally off, and I think you need to look at it. Then you talk to someone else and say, you know, I agree with you. What you're saying there seems to be spot on. You know, I could jabber away here and write a play about this whole thing, but you know what I'm saying. You can find any reference point you want. Just depends on who you talk to. What happens if you talk to me? Say it.
You receive and there's no reference. You
So-
don't give us a reference point.
Don't I respond to your question? Are you saying I sit up here and don't say anything? Aren't these reference points? Aren't I dumping all over you? What is it? What's happening here?
If we're a student, we're seeing a mirror, seeing some teaching
Okay.
or having the opportunity to.
What's your question? What's the question around that solidifying reference points?
So when we
stories.
think we're receiving, are we really receiving if we actually are solidifying our own or others' stories?
Well, to go to the first part of your question, if you think you're receiving or not, because that's an identity that is receiving, and then what's happening with that identity, because the identity, which is called ego, which is very partial and very selective, is included. It's kind of invisible. You don't really realize it. You just think you're, well, I'm just receiving. But I haven't ever had someone say to you, well, I'm just listening to you. I'm just listening to you. I'm sure as a therapist, you've run into that quite a bit. You probably are even functioning as a listener. Clarissa,
Course buying is all you're doing by talking right now, solidifying stories.
pardon me?
Is all you're doing right now by talking, solidifying
Yes.
stories.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Same thing.
Okay, good. It's not separate. I can't teach if I'm somehow sitting on a throne somewhere, being all shiny and perfect. No, I am what you're going through.
That was my question. Like, how can you teach us if you're not better or more put together than us?
Nothing is put together. That's an illusion. There's no such thing as this. You have to see what this is, otherwise you'll fight for something better. Grasping, first noble truth, life is suffering. Second noble truth, we want something else. We want enlightenment. We want success. We want sanity. We want, we crave. And what you're looking for, this is not, I'm not the first one to say this, to point this out. You are looking at it. You just cover it up because you don't want what you're looking at because it's a mirror. Initially, it's a mirror, and ultimately, there's nothing there.
Shadow
You
bowing.
can you can actually live there. That doesn't mean you won't get irritated with the person we discussed a little while ago that's having difficulty with having jobs assigned to them around here. It's all upset because we're being unfair. Doesn't mean you won't run into that every day after day after day, but it's unreal. And if you run into somebody who believes their thoughts and thinks that's real, they can hurt you. They can kill you. They could punch you. Or they could run away. Or they could even realize their true nature and stop the warfare. And where does the warfare stop? Here. It doesn't stop out here. This is the warfare. More?
Shadow bowing. If you did teach the other way, like where you were just sitting up there not reacting or anything like that,
Me being peaceful?
yes. How might that not be helpful?
It might be. It could be. Yes.
Shadow bowing. Is it more like you don't have a choice how you're showing up?
I hesitate to say it that way because then that turns me into some kind of a choiceless person who's just using it to do whatever the hell they want, which I'm accused of. They're only doing everything choicelessly. That means you get to be abuse people or do whatever you want. So, but yes, it's choiceless. It's not that I don't do this instead of that, but it's obvious what I need to do next. Anything I'm doing, I'm not doing it because I'm not doing that. I'm just doing whatever that is. So that when I teach or talk about that, I say, seems choiceless because I don't have an either or, as Kierkegaard wrote about. The Danish theologian wrote about, the existential Danish theologian wrote about a couple hundred years ago. Go ahead.
Shadow bowing is whether or is the way a teacher shows up, like with their teaching, is that part of their karma?
Well, yes, would be. Here's this body mind complex, this one or anyone in here is in a different area, a different dynamic is happening for everyone in the illusion of time and space. Time, tick, 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 and space over there, over here, over this is an illusion. These hands, this is an illusion. This moving hands, unreal. This is the teaching. This is the teaching. It's just this. It's just nothing is there. It's an illusion that shows up. Realize it, and past and future will vanish, as Coben said when he translated the Heart Sutra mantra, falling apart, falling apart, falling apart. His ego, his idea of reality just came apart. Falling apart, falling apart, falling apart. Nothing to do. There isn't anyone left to do anything. Everything all at once is another way of saying past and future are not there anymore. There's just this, and even that is not dependable. Or anyone on Zoom have a question or a comment or a criticism or a philosophical stance that you might want me to consider?
Bowing.
Go ahead, Jade.
This is none of those things, I don't think. In the beginning of the talk, you were saying you answer a question to the individual.
I do.
Does that mean that we would look at that and maybe disregard it or think, no, that doesn't apply to me? Or how do we work with or bowing?
You might look at it that way. It's not up to me what you do with it. It's just you ask me a question, I do my best to respond in a way that to me looks like it could be helpful to you. But sometimes I respond to people in ways that upset them and they run another direction. But that's not wrong. It's just what they're doing. Is that where you're going with it? I'm not sure what you're asking me for sure.
Bowing. I guess I was looking more at disregarding how you're responding to someone else, thinking that doesn't apply to me. Should we look at how that would apply to me, or
What are you doing?
that's what I'm doing?
That's what you should be doing. Whatever you're doing, that's what you should be doing. What is the teaching that comes from this direction here is be aware of it. You don't have to clean up your act. Be aware. Because cleaning up your act is a relative structure that may work relatively, and it would work great in society. It works great if you just got out of prison, or if you just had a terrible marriage or something. You're somehow cleaning up your act. I'm not saying it doesn't have some relative import, of course. But the spiritual path is about seeing what this is, not being different, not being enlightened, or not being whatever, any number of things. See what this is. Be genuine. This is another teaching that I got from my teacher, Chogyam Trungpa. Be genuine. It took me decades to understand what that meant. I was continually just confused by it. How can you be genuine? Well, I know what he meant, but I can't explain it to you. All I can say is something good for you to contemplate. Stop trying to be something else. Be the karma that is rising in your mind stream. Receive it. Receive this incredible life called human life, this incredible, precious human birth, where you have the opportunity to stumble into the teachings of the Buddha, the awakened one. Yes.
Wanda Bowing, how can we be responsible to when we are being told stories? How can we be responsible for those stories that we're being told?
Like someone is telling you some story, or you're telling yourself a story.
I'm thinking right now of someone coming to me with a story. Like we just had this email that came to us.
Yes.
How can we be responsible but yet not solidify it?
So there's no standard for that. So you would have to do it with the situation. You'd have to do it with your kind of knee-jerk response, the response of being irritated by it, because you can see that the person is operating out of their spinning and their fear of anything other than what they think, their fear of being introduced to something that might be different than what they've already concluded, that they're trying to push on you with some kind of validation based on what? Reason, logic. This is what's coming at you. And those are powerful, especially when you're talking about the person I'm thinking you are, extremely intelligent, intelligence level way above this person. I don't know if they're above yours or not, but they're certainly smarter than I am. But they do not see. The intellect is covering up my view of it, or my perception of it, which I'm not jumping into some kind of conclusion about. I'm perceiving that. Doesn't make me better than him or better than you or better than anyone. It just means it's just consciousness that's functioning, not a conclusion about right and wrong, should be or shouldn't be. So coming back to your question, unless you want to elaborate on that, coming back to your question, the way you would be different with each person. You don't have to have a standard about how to treat that. You could meet that individual, that person, or that story that's coming at you from that person as it is individually. In this case, I think it's best to do this not as an individual monk or an individual person relating to that other Sangha member, but to do it with Sangha because of the nature of the challenge that is there, to do it with the Sangha. Because I don't know if anyone that would agree with that, his particular interpretation or perceptions of that. Is that what you're referring to?
Well, yeah, I'm thinking it, in this case, you're considering giving that person a platform, and it seems
Wait. That long enough? Did you hear what you just said?
considering is not the
I'm giving what? What am I giving?
platform.
What's a platform?
Separate meeting that they can hold forth in.
Okay, am I giving you a platform right now?
Yes,
Shouldn't I give him a platform too?
yes.
Really? I mean, I'm not saying when somebody comes in and demands a platform, like we recently had somebody come in here and take over the whole thing. They wanted the platform, so they came in. I didn't fight with them. I let them take over the whole meeting. They got to say all kinds of things. Some of you were here and some of you weren't. I didn't kick them out. That's happened several times. Those of you who have been here know that somebody comes in and demands attention, they get it, even when they're nuts. Or when I'm not saying they're nuts, but they're crazy.
So those examples of the receiving, are you solidifying their story by just giving
I'm
them the
solidifying
platform?
my story because they irritate the hell out of me. You follow that? You have to receive not only what's coming up there, but to receive the irritation that's coming up. I know you're irritated with that. To receive that irritation. This doesn't mean we're going to shut down, not give them any platform, but we can, that's why I think it's a good idea for us to talk and say, what's a good way to relate to this? More? But
It almost feels like we're not being situational with it, though. This person's been continually just taking their own platform, and then we're going, it's like this person's vandalizing our house, and it's like, all right, since you're trying to break in, we're gonna unlock it today.
I like that image. You're right. Let's tell them no.
Thank you.
Well. He just changed my mind, and I didn't think I had a mind, but something happened because he changed it. Oh, wait a minute, I have two really important people who have questions. I'll go with, I'll come back to Elena. Jen, go ahead.
Jaylen Bowing. I'm curious what the difference is. You said you solidify
I do,
and I solidify.
yes.
What am I doing differently?
Well, I'll say it this way. Having been around much longer than you have, young lady, when I solidify, I'm aware that I'm solidifying, and I'm aware that I can't stop doing that. I can't stop getting mad. I can't stop acting outrageous, which I do all the time. And I know that. I know I can't. Whereas you, and I'm not picking on you, I'm saying you act that way too, but you think you can somehow get some control over it, or you can stop acting that way. And some of the way in which you're acting, you're actually not aware of. You're functioning in a way where there are areas of your consciousness, having known you for a while. But but the upside of that whole thing is I know you work very hard on it. I know that you practice, we stay in touch, and I know you work on that. You have a further question in that area?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jaylen Bowing. I guess I'm wondering what's the relationship between receiving and solidifying?
So the receiving can feel okay. It can feel like a pleasant fragrance, and it can feel like it absolutely stinks and smells. And that receiving just keeps coming and coming, and you don't lock down on judging. You don't solidify it into, oh, this is terrible, shouldn't be happening. It's because of him, because of her, or because of me. There's no blaming involved. You know that the person, even there's someone actually swinging the hammer at you. You know that person, you see it deeply that person is suffering, and that they're just trying to get rid of their suffering. And one of the ways, because we are not separate, one of the ways to get rid of suffering is to move it from one consciousness, apparently in this individual, to another one. In other words, blame. Go ahead.
And Jaylen Bowing. So the way I'm understanding, your solidifying seems to like it's making it less solid actually in you than what I experience. Like if you're watching, you said you watch how you want to solidify, I think.
I do.
And I just solidify. That's the difference, probably.
Well, that's pretty conceptual. I would say it's in that area, but you're probably not solidifying as much as the way you're describing it, as much as you might think. What makes it difficult is the suffering or the pain or the discomfort that we're going through being a living being and dealing with this, and actually beginning to see that we are not going to be able to solve this painful thing that we're in the midst of, called being a human being. It's going to be difficult. And realizing that there's no way out of this. You're going to have to go right through the middle of the chaos, right through the middle of your karma. And that's what I'm here to encourage all of you to do. Whatever shows up in your mind, that is your life. Live it. That is your life. Don't go to a mountaintop and go into samadhi or something and avoid everything. No, do it right here, right in front of you. Do it right here with your neighbors, right here with your society, right here with your sangha. You do it. That doesn't mean that you go over to the person's house that Shoto and I were just discussing and raise hell with them necessarily. You might feel like it, but you might try to understand a way to work with that doesn't create more chaos or more warfare.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Elena.
Elena Bowing. I struggle a lot with this delicate or liquid line between what we can choose and what we don't or can't choose. And it seems like we can set intentions to make what was once choiceless, or we can change what's a pattern of what was choiceless to what now is choiceless. Like you had me read The Way of the Bodhisattva, because I had intentions of having a different perception. And through reading it, what was once choiceless, it's like I choose different things, right? We can influence it and choose. Am I making sense?
If you say right to me, I'm probably not going to say, yeah. It's okay to say that, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm waiting for your question.
We can, what's choiceless today for me, I can intentionally train to make different choices. Is that possible? Like what
It's possible to do that. In the illusion is part of that, looking like you can do things differently. You can make, even that's part of the cultural teaching is you need to make the right choices. You need to make good choices. This is just, it's just bullshit. And I'm sorry to say that because I'm not saying there aren't some people that feel like some of their life has been cleaned up by doing that. They can get some relative accomplishment, enough to even write books and to preach to others. But this is just from the point of view, which is a point of view of the spiritual path, which transcends this world. I'm talking about timelessness. From that point of view, that structure will take you in a circle of success and failure. It might be a wider circle of success. It might be a whole lifetime of success. There's no real guarantee that that's going to lead to some kind of happiness or satisfaction. It's probably going to lead to just to more suffering because it denies the downside. It's like trying to do away with darkness and just have light. You can't do it. Both of them need to be there because they're not separate from each other. They're not two different things. If you see that, then this is choiceless what you will do. The karma that shows up as you or as me, choiceless. Receive, 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 receive everything. More if you have it.
Elena Bowing, I guess I went into a pretty dark place yesterday and I was noticing how I couldn't receive it. Like it was so dark that I wasn't allowing myself to receive it.
That's aware. Let me interrupt. That's awareness. Seeing you can't do something is still awareness. And that's what's important. Not the failure part of it. That ego will use that and hammer you with, I just can't do this. It's just a failure. I just can't. And it'll take you right out of this practice, out of this monastery and down the road to live in Muskegon or something. Well, maybe not Muskegon, but it'll take you away and then you'll look for another way to do it. I'm saying stay here, do this path. I'm not asking you to believe anything. Do as I say. I don't order people around. The only thing I'm encouraging you to do is sit in front of that wall and watch the failure. Watch how you can't do this. And but you can get your body in front of that wall. You can open your eyes. You can watch the mind that comes and goes. You can be aware of the failure. I know you're very optimistic. You are very, you're able to, radiate that kind of optimism. That's why you're in the kind of business that you're in. What was that you do?
Hospice?
Well, hospice is pretty positive. Hospice.
We're all gonna die.
We're all gonna. Do you follow a little bit what I'm saying? Just receive the negativity. Do it on behalf of other. This is part of the Bodhisattva path. Is when the negativity comes your way, you can't do it, but do it for others. Receive the negativity in here. For others, if you can do that, then that's the path of saving all beings, which are basically non-existent. Yes.
Elena Bowing, I feel like that's the choice though. I'm attempting to make a choice there to follow the Bodhisattva path and break my solid wall that is automatically.
This is ego. It's ego. There's nothing to break. There's nothing to follow. You're already there. Aren't you on the Bodhisattva path? That's enough. How that Bodhisattva path shows up is yours. It's individual. It's very, very subjective until the whole subjectivity just comes apart. But it has to come back in your consciousness. So you are not, so you see you're not a separate being. You're not separate from any being in the world. All the people that are on these screens that look like they're 1,000 miles away or whatever, not separate. You're not separate from any of them, nor am I. I look at it every day, and you're looking at it every day, but you're looking at your idea of it. I'm not accusing you of anything. You're looking at your idea of it rather than what's there, and say you need to look at your idea of it until that starts to come apart. And the only way that can come apart is don't add any stories to it. And any stories that are already adding, don't solidify them. Just see the truth. See the truth. There isn't anything but consciousness. All these bodies, all these worms and alligators and ducks and clouds, trees that are falling over in some windstorms. Unreal. Real enough to crush your house, so it's relatively real. But who you are, consciousness, that which shows up in a dream world, that which shows up, wakes up in the morning, that which feels like it can't get this, that's consciousness. You can do it. Welcome. Let me look on here for a minute.
David Bowing.
Go ahead, Naveed.
Having no reference point feels to me like falling down, as you say sometimes. But in the midst of falling down, I look for an edge or something to hold on to,
Yes.
and it can be as simple as just receive it. So I was wondering if our true nature is without any reference points.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes, but there won't be the consciousness, there won't be some kind of conclusion, no reference point. To not have a reference point just feels like ego. Because there's still a human being here. So it's just gonna feel like you're screwed up. Except you don't care anymore, because you know you have to be the karma that shows up. You cannot help anybody if you somehow cleared up your whole dynamic. So yeah, that's the path. You're describing the path. 3 more weeks, you'll probably be a Dharma teacher. You probably could teach people, right? You could teach people how to meditate. I don't know if you're in a position to be able to do that or not, but that would be, it's always helpful to say to someone, sit down and look at your mind. You know, don't even have to preach Buddhism. You can just say, might want to get to know yourself. Look within. Yes.
Sure, Bowing. Can you say more? I'm saying this, but like how the Buddha and the ego aren't different.
It's non-dual. The conceptual part is Advaita. It's non-dual. This is what our friend that we were talking about earlier is always talking about all the concept. I can speak about it conceptually. I've studied it for half a century, but the realization goes beyond the concepts. And so then you would have to use the actual fundamental situation was ego is the Buddha, not separate from it. It is that. But it's also consciousness. It's just consciousness that allows the Buddha to come in, consciousness that you use the word allows, as Robert was using earlier, and I kind of corrected you a little bit. But it's like that. It's just that you're just not going to stop anything. The walls of the mind have completely collapsed, and all the mice and the rats running over the rafters are coming after you, and you don't mind. Take a big bite. It's like that. You're not trying to clean up everything and make sure you have some kind of God realm to live in. Go ahead.
Shoto Bowing. Is everything choiceless, whether or not we realize that?
Of course. Yes. Choicelessness just means that you don't decide anything. You don't decide. It looks like that's the illusion that you're picking between this and that. That's just not true. You don't. You do what you have to do. Go ahead.
Shoto Bowing. That's the area I'm really curious about. So it's choiceless whether we see it or not, but something looks and feels like I'm making choices.
Yeah, that's choicelessness. Would have to be. Okay, James, your arm must be getting tired holding it up all that time. Go ahead, James.
James Bowing. So I was thinking about
I bet you were.
things like societal abuse for people, when they get distorted views on things from society, like if they're in like a hateful society.
What is your
or abuse
question?
Society.
What is your question?
How do you help somebody who has abuse from outside from their society, like teaching them that they can't be free or they should be limited. How do you help someone like that where where they view the help as abuse and not the abuse as abuse?
Good, very good question. Thank you. Appreciate that one. You probably can't because there's no openness to it, and they're going to have their opinions, their judgments about it. So you really can't help anybody without their really strong permission. And so I say just the best way to help anybody, unless you have permission to actually talk to them directly and maybe even recommend that they possibly train their mind, which might be a rare situation. But you can just mind your own business and be respectful to their, as I've said, you've heard me say, if you've listened to me very much, something I say is respect people's confusion. If somebody's confused, you see they're confused, be respectful of that. That doesn't mean do what they say or obey them, but be respectful. That way they're with their confusion, which they think is clarity or they think is the truth. If they're around you and you're not picking at them, then they're more relaxed. Then if there is a possibility that there might be some entry that you may have or anybody may have to helping them, they've softened up. They're not being defensive because you're not attacking them because of their apparent craziness or their confusion. So respect people's confusion. I'll take one more question from you,
Okay.
James, if you have it. One more question, James. Go ahead.
I was thinking about how psychologists, their goal is the goal is to make you healthier just so you can satisfy your life goals. I mean, that seems kind of twisted.
I've got two
But,
psychologists sitting here. I'm asking you if you're
okay,
correct.
but
Are you a
I was going to ask.
psychologist? Are you a psychologist?
No, I'm not. I was going to ask about the Abhidharma, about like movies and things. Is solidifying like hallucinating movement in a movie
What?
psychology?
You're
How when
talking
somebody
about
watches
questions about the Abhidharma. Have you studied the Abhidharma?
a little bit, I'm
Okay.
I'm just kind of asking about, how if somebody like sees like frames of things, they can kind of infer what's coming next.
Okay.
So
What's your
it's
question?
kind of like a hallucination.
What is your question? I need to be a Q&A.
Is solidifying that hallucinating process, that assuming process where you're
Yeah.
assuming what the next frame is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is.
All right.
Okay. Now, next, I got to go to somebody else or other people have questions. Jishin, what do you have?
Jaylen Bowing. I'm wondering what is helpful about giving a platform to someone whose fundamental attitude is to, and idea is to change the fundamentally the forms.
Thank you, Jishin. I know what you're talking about. Thank you. That's so we can make fun of them. No, I don't mean to make light of what you're saying. I totally understand, truly understand what you're saying. And I think it's just the way it's looking here, and we haven't come to some kind of conclusion about that. But you and a few other people are invited to come together and discuss that situation before we go forward with that. Especially the people who are the functionaries here in the monastery and the monks in the monastery who've been dealing with this. This just so to clarify it for those of you who don't join us very often, we have someone who's very, very, I don't know, would say, unhappy about the way I've been conducting book study for 50 years and wants to change it. Does not want me, I think, am I saying this correctly? Does not want me to answer questions anymore. Was that it? This person wants me to stay away and not answer anybody's questions anymore, like we're doing now, except it's in a book study. We're studying maybe the Abhidharma or the works of Vasubandhu. We haven't studied Abhidharma in quite a while, but Vasubandhu or any number of teachings, Dogen Zenji, and then we study for 45 minutes as a community, and I stay away. Then I come in and respond to 15, 20 minutes, half an hour of questions. And this person feels this is not appropriate. Feels that this is a cult. We're to do this. Isn't that? Am I saying this? Is that what
It's complicated.
he said? It was complicated. I thought he said it was a cult. Speak up. You got the email from him.
Well, not just me, others did too.
Pardon me?
I said others got the email as well.
Yeah,
But
well,
we're still
But
discussing.
didn't he use the word cult? No one's gonna.
He did use that word, but it was in the context of the
We
entire.
don't have to, we don't have to deconstruct that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, what Jishin is basically saying, why should we have somebody come in who is really intelligent? This person is brilliant. Without a doubt, especially in the corporate world, has been extremely successful in that area. He's brilliant. But to come in here and try to convert a Dharma teaching into something that just, to me, just means people sitting around, and the teacher doesn't stay there, doesn't come in and say anything. The teacher stays away so people can just, I think it's so he can teach, maybe. Am I wrong with that? Does he want to be the teacher here? I have a few people. Yes, go ahead.
Sure. I'm just wondering if you could, is there another word that you can use instead of intelligence? Because it does not seem intelligent to me at all.
Doesn't seem intelligent.
No.
Very conceptually adept.
That's better.
That works. Yes.
Elena Bowing, to me, isn't reading his email and acknowledging his words, giving him a platform already? Bowing.
Gee, Sheen, we already had it whipped. Here at the beginning when I got a no from him.
Yeah. Jishin, we need you to help Shoto.
Please.
Anyway, we'll figure this out. The people who come to book study regularly, which are Deb and Jishin, and quite often Jaylen is at book studies too, and we all have our different ideas. Jaylen, do you have a comment on this?
Jaylen Bowing. I was trying to understand where he was coming from, so I had some conversation with him, and I think what he was pointing at was the change in attention and focus happening from group conversation to you coming in, and there might just be something in that differentiation of the change of what's going on.
So are you in agreement with him, or are you going along with that idea that I should stop showing up?
No.
Okay.
I guess what I would enjoy is if you were in the book study the whole time.
Well, I'm going to be in a book study. I think no.
For monks.
Huh?
For monks.
Oh, that's for monks only. See, so I have these special people. That's because this is a cult. And I have these special people that are allowed to come in. Yes, I'm going to. There's several times I've facilitated a whole book study myself. So I've done a lot of. I did that for many years. About I don't know, 35, 40 years, something like that. Did that all the time. Yes, sir.
Sure.
Thank you, Jaylen.
I'm curious. Traditionally, monasteries are cloistered, and
Yeah.
descriptively, it might look like a cult. So, how is a monastery that's been doing this for thousands of years different than that?
I have no idea. I'm not I don't know. My intention is to help you if I can, with your permission. Nobody has to stay here. Every one of you know that. Those of you who live here, know you could. All you have to do is say, "I'm leaving," or "I've got to go," and you can leave. No one's. We don't track anybody down. Go ahead.
Are we learning actively right now why monasteries have cloistered in every other country?
I don't know. Maybe. Yes.
Bowing, are we solidifying our stories?
Always. Everyone's always solidifying their stories. That's the teaching, is to be aware of that. And some stories you will not be able to stop it. The karma that brought you in, that gives you this skin color and this sexual orientation, or that might in 3 years might disorder you decide to become a man. I mean, we've seen this happen. This is unlikely to happen, but people, you cannot control what happens. Some people go along and just find suddenly their sexual orientation changes. And our society does not allow that. You have to live up to a certain code of how you function, and you have to go along with whatever you were born as. It's just ridiculous. Totally disrespectful of the nature of living beings coming into this world as consciousness. The only place you're going to find any reasonableness there is, that I know of, is on a true spiritual path, which sees what is, not necessarily clamps down on what we would like things to be. I'll take one more question. Go ahead.
Michelle Bowing. Is, pardon me.
That's not a question. That's throat clearing. Go ahead.
Is what we're seeing happening in our community and our minds that we perceive as craziness, is that just as much Buddha activity as the sanity?
Totally. Unless you buy into it, or unless you clamp down on it, then it can cause you to just leave. This is a terrible place. There's a terrible teacher. This teacher is abusing, and just do whatever you want with your. If you believe your stories, then yes, then you can use this to do something else. And I'm saying, if you do that, then perhaps you should, or you might have to do it. Be choiceless. More.
You answered my question.
Are we? Was there something online you want to?
Several.
How many?
Four.
Huh?
4 people.
Well,
4 different questions. 2 people.
Go 2 people. Go through them, and I'll respond as quick as I can. Then we have another scheduled.
In less than a half hour.
Less than a half hour. So we have something else we have to go to as a community. So I'll go ahead with these online.
Bowing. Ath in the UK says, is the advice don't accept, reject, ignore the same as the advice observe, but don't not absorb? Thank you.
I don't follow that. It doesn't sound like something I said. Just observe. The idea is just observe. And part of the observing is the way you add on to things. Observe that too. So turn everything into something you're observing rather than something that is true. In other words, don't solidify. If a story comes up, just observe it. Hear the story. It's a story. It's like listening to Shakespeare. It's just, there's stories. They may be very magnetizing, very beautiful, very true, very, very moving, but they are stories. That's why we get so engaged with, like we can watch if you ever watch The Walking Dead, which has been on for 13 centuries, if you ever watch that, it's very powerful because the power of the drama is engaging and the power of the acting is pretty uneven. It's not all great. Some of it is amazing. You can watch that and you can actually get afraid of something that's not real. I mean, you watch that and you have to stop watching it. You have to go to the kitchen or shut it off or put it on pause or avert your gaze. That's what Ondo does. She's watching a really painful, right? She just looks down like that.
Yokabowing.
Yes.
Ath's next question actually kind of engages that. Why does one enjoy watching movies if he or she doesn't want to solidify stories? It seems mutually exclusive.
No, because an aspect of consciousness knows they're not real. So that's what we're looking for. You need to see that this is just like the dreams you have at night or the stories you watch on TV or in a movie. Those are showing you that this is unreal. Those are the sample dream or the sample unreality is the movie. This is the unreal. This is the real unreality. This is the one that you need to watch and not cling, not grasp, not reject, not accept. And the process of doing that is seeing how you can't help but do that. So it's not about not averting your eyes from the scary movie. It's about being aware that you're doing that. And you can do that in this realm, human realm also. Go ahead.
Yokabowing. And then a question from Martine in where's he at?
Latvia.
Latvia. The notion of I is like a smell pervading the whole universe. Moving away from solidifying the notion of I, is that to be closer to true nature?
It's not about moving away from it. It's about being aware of it. If you're aware of it, then you might move further into the solidifying because the particular karma that brought you into this world is taking you deeper into what you personally need to realize. And that may be full of all kinds of very, very believable crap. It may stink terribly. So don't move away from anything. Don't move towards anything. Don't turn away from anything. Just be aware of it. And then it will tell you. It's choiceless. It will, the very situation you're dealing with will tell you what to do. Just like it's telling us what to do with everything else, with what to do with our friend that wants to keep me from coming into the book study because I'm somehow confusing. I don't know what, I'm not sure what the thing is other than maybe I'm a cult leader or something.
No, Colin, he just has, Martine also has a comment. Sounds like it is a corporate hostile takeover.
Did you hear that? Corporate hostile takeover, and Jishin is like. There's something to that. So.
Away from Latvia.
Huh? All the way from Latvia. Latvia, see, that's far away. Navid, is Latvia further away than Iran? No.
I have no idea, Sokuzan.
I don't either. I know they're on the map somewhere over there in the European dispensation. So, okay, well, I guess we've got other things to do. So thank you all for your indulgence and for listening to this teaching and for just including yourselves, and hopefully we've been able to include everybody as much as possible. And we don't have to come to any conclusions about anything, but just be aware of what's showing up in your mind. Thank you, thank you, thank you.